The Indian two-wheeler space is of course one of the fastest growing and one of the largest markets in the world, and yet many analysts will tell you that the true potential of it is yet to be arrived at. Within that, we've seen the customer also now giving you a lot more preference for bigger CC bikes. There's also a wider variety of products, and perhaps that's where the potential truly lies. And today we have the arrival of yet another new brand in the country at a time when, of course, it's not just the economy but also the Indian automobile space that is looking to severely ramp up in 2015. Joining me are two gentlemen who represent DSK Benelli. We've got Shirish Kulkarni from the DSK group in Pune, and also with us is George Wang, who is the director of the board at Benelli. Good to have both of you. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to start off by asking you first, Shirish, about this foray with yet another new brand, because in the motorcycle space, as I mentioned, there has been we've been waiting for the big thing to happen. We're starting to see that shift now. So do you think this is good timing for you?
Absolutely, it's great timing because there were so many manufacturers present already in the market. More importantly, the market is being educated, so that's very important. I remember 3 years ago when we just started off with the Korean brand. It was difficult to explain people as to why superbikes exist and why the pricing, but today that's not the case. People just are accepting it. As long as you have a good product and of course backed up by a good brand, it's becoming easier by the day.
For Benelli as a brand, of course there's a huge history, but today what is the kind of expectation you have for its growth? India of course is one part of that, but globally, how do you see the brand growing?
After our group, Tianjiang Group, purchased Benelli company, this brand we extend a lot of countries, even more than before. Benelli controlled by Italian family. So not only our strategy is that not only the niche for the niche market, but also for the high volume segment. So this is our group strategy to let Benelli become more and more famous, to let more and more people can have the capacity to use this motorcycle.
George, I have to ask you, unlike some of the other brands which have entered India, you have chosen to come in with a partner. What advantages do you see? Why did you feel that you needed to come in with a partner and not independently?
Actually, this is one kind of the important strategy of our group, because different countries have different culture. And if we enter this market, first we must supply the exactly product which the market, which the consumers need. I think DSK Group is the best partner to cooperate, because they give us a lot of consultant, they give a lot of help, they give a lot of support to our group in order to produce the product which exactly fit this market. So we think to cooperate with a partner, the local partner, is extremely important.
Do you think it was also important to have more than one product at the start and not start with one then build it up? Because we've seen that with some of the other bikes coming in, it's always now a larger portfolio approach. Do you think that's important in India, to have more than one product at the start?
I think because Benelli is still a newcomer for this market. This is reason that step by step to give the best service, to convince our clients in the beginning is very important. Other work will finish automatically step by step.
All right, fair enough. You think that's key as well, to have a wider portfolio and not just one product at the start?
Yeah, I would like to put it this way, that we did think about how starting with a small portfolio, maybe 2 or 3 products to introduce with, but then we realized that all the products that that we've introduced, of course the 899 and the 1130, these two are, well, they have stood the test of time, so they need to be here. They are our flagship models.
Flagships, yeah.
But at the same time, the 600s and the 300, they are there. That's where the dealers are actually going to earn the money, and well, it's a business cycle, and we have to make sure that we are present there, because business for me is not only about selling a motorcycle, but to making sure that my dealers as well as the consumers at the end, they are happy. And one way to keep a dealer happy is to give him more and more products to sell. And the best way to keep a consumer happy is to make sure that there are more dealers so that the service network and everything else is taken care of. So for us, it was important that we go out with the maximum possibility. And so far, we found out that these 5 bikes are the best suited today. Of course, Benelli has got more to offer. They've got more products to come in, and hopefully within this year, we would be able to introduce a few more of them.
So that's actually a fairly aggressive approach, because if you're saying within this year, that's pretty much the year of launch. We've also seen that kind of a response from the market. So it's important to be visible and be active like that in India as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, well, it's, like this is how my father puts it, when you're cooking a roti on the pan, if you're not going to rotate it, it's going to burn. So that's the cycle has to continue. If the manufacturer is not going to supply with more and more products, literally on a quarterly basis, especially in the two-wheeler segment, it's not going to survive. Simple as that. So that strategy of that, this model is what we are adopting, and we're fortunate that Benelli has got that much to offer us. So I think it's going to be great.
George, this whole point about smaller displacement bikes, yes, which still carry the same kind of performance attribute or the same brand promise as some of the bigger ones, but which attract a different kind of buyer. In a market like India, that's important, maybe in Southeast Asia, perhaps in China as well to a certain extent. Is it important to keep the development of such products perhaps a little bit more on a priority?
I think small displacement segment is quite important for a brand. If we want to become a famous brand, a welcome brand, so we must have this kind of the products. But maybe we will start this kind of process in the next step once our brand well accepted by the market. And also we are under discussion, always negotiate with DSK what is the correct time for us to enter this market.
What is the long-term strategy? I mean, how soon do you want to localize? How important is it to localize in India as well to be more price competitive?
Actually, there are a lot of strong competitors. We must respect all of the strong competitors. If we study of their success, all of the players are making the spare parts in India, so we must follow this way.
This is part of your strategy as well. I mean, there has to be a CKD plan, perhaps even a manufacturing plan in the long term, right?
Well, right now they're all CKDs, so the first step is achieved already, and long term
is crucial. I think you couldn't have started without that.
No, frankly, we wouldn't be able to compete. I mean, particularly in the 300 and the 600 segment, because that is where the competition
volume will come to.
Yeah, I mean that's why we need to be different. So unless and until we do that, it's not possible. And I think our prior experience helped, and I'm sure even Benelli agrees with that. That since we had that, it was easy for us to get it rolling so soon. So we just about 6 months, and we are in the market already, including dealer network, of course, not just the CKD operations. But the long-term strategy, yes, if you have to be successful and sustaining both at the same time in India on a long-term basis, you need to be as local as you can. So that is the bottom line. So, well, to be honest, it's too early for us to comment on it, that whether or not we will, when, how, where. But yes, localization will be important, and it is a part of our strategy, but there's time.
And could that be a combined strategy for the two brands you operate, or you think that's too early as well?
I mean, if you ask me as DSK, then I would want it, because then that gives me, it gives me a better space to work with. So I would want it, but again, the time is something that both of us have to jointly sit down and agree to, because we can't just say that okay, today we're starting localization and we want it in this time frame. It's difficult because we're not the established ones in the country like the others. So we're going to need our own time, we're going to need our own space. But yes, it's important for the both of us.
George, what is the kind of share you would like for the brand to have? Because overall, of course, premium motorcycles are a relatively small business even today. We expect that business to keep growing very smartly the next few years. But let's say after the first year, what sort of share would you like to attract for Benelli?
We have no small displacement motorcycles at the moment. So if we compare our current models, it's from 300cc to 600cc and 899 like 1130. This segment, we want to become a majority player in this market. I think for the market share, Mr. Shirish have very clear idea.
You want to give me a number?
Well, our numbers are, our target is 3,000 units, to sell in this fiscal. So if you really put it that way, then we're looking at a market share of over 20%.
That's a pretty strong target.
It is a strong target, and I think, to be very honest, with the kind of portfolio, with the current ones and the ones that are, that we're planning, it's possible. It's going to be a hard task. It's going to be, an absolute uphill task for us, but it's possible.
How does your current network compare to the rivals as well? Because the assumption is that because it's a niche brand, it will not be as well entrenched. Of course, having a network hasn't necessarily been an advantage for the likes of Yamaha or Honda or Suzuki when it comes to premium motorcycles. But how do you see that?
See, we are looking at of course the metros and tier 2s. It's going to be too early for us to go below tier 2, but we're looking at about 20 dealerships to open up by end of the year, out of which we are starting with 9. So I think we will be the only brand who are starting with 9 dealerships. I mean, particularly looking at how the brand is positioned. So it's extremely crucial for us that we go to the right markets. We just don't want to open showrooms for the sake of opening. So we want to make sure that like pockets like Ahmedabad, you go to Surat, or you go down to even to Mangalore or Mysore, where the money exists, but the problem is they have not been exposed to it, to products like this. People have just underestimated. They say, well, it's not going to happen. So we've not gone there. Like somebody like we have done with Hyosung, we did it right up in the northeast. We went to Itanagar and Dimapur. We got great success over there. We're still selling a steady number over there. So we need to identify these pockets and reach there, and not just open a large network. So our strategy is about 20 outlets by the end of the year, and these are going to be strategically located, of course, city specific, and it has to be backed up by good dealer groups also.
Is there any kind of support, or is there any kind of sharing with the Hyosung brand that you look at in terms of at least maybe the smaller cities?
Not really, because Benelli has a clear guideline that we want, whatever it is, the operation should be separate. There might be a situation where the same dealer might exist, but
or even the logistics could be, the back-end logistics could be.
Yeah, maybe service. It might be the same premises, but there should be a clear, distinct wall in between the two. So nowhere that you cannot buy a Benelli in a Hyosung, you cannot buy a Hyosung in a Benelli showroom. So that's going to be different no matter what. So same owners, but different setups.
Fair enough. The experience with Hyosung that you've had, it's also been a relatively short span of time. In many ways, it's still getting established in certain parts of the country. What prompted you to go with the second brand so quickly?
Well, frankly, it's a very difficult question to answer. I've been asked this several times, and when
the opportunity is there. Don't get me wrong.
No, of course.
But still, as you are still getting your hands sort of, dirty with the first, or muddy with the first brand, why the second brand?
Well, frankly, the opportunity with Benelli, let's just go back a little bit. If you compare Hyosung to a Benelli, they're both great brands. Both have their own history. Both have their own, uniqueness. But a Benelli is a Benelli and a Hyosung is a Hyosung, no matter what. You cannot compare these two brands.
They are fairly distinct as well.
They're different. Let's be honest about it. They're present in XYZ sectors. They're present in X and Y and Z sectors. So that's going to be there. Initially, when in fact we started talking to Benelli, I frankly I had this dilemma in my mind, saying that I already have a brand which is, again, as you rightly said, relatively new. I'm still getting, establishing myself as DSK. But when I saw the products, when I saw what QJ was all about, when I went to Italy, I saw the factory there. I saw, the Chinese plant. It's just extraordinary, and that's what gave me confidence that yes, now there is space for two.
This can work, yeah.
So this can work. This can be successful. And I didn't want to lose the opportunity, because if somebody else would have got Benelli into India, I was in trouble. So You can call it selfish, but it is I think for me, it's safeguarding myself from both ends.
No, I mean, that's a good point too, and good for you that you have the opportunity to tie up with them. But talk me through the experience with your son. What part of it has been an eye-opener or a learning, and what part of it gives you confidence now with the second brand?
Well, initially with Yosan, we struggled with dealer networks. We struggled with convincing people that, as I said earlier, that why superbikes? Why are we charging so much amount for a 600cc or for a 700cc or even for a cruiser or even for a 250 for the matter? And they say it's just plastic. Why are you demanding so much money for plastic? But that's not about it. It's like you go to a premium car and you cannot bargain, saying that, well, you're relatively new, so what? We are a premium brand, we are a super bike. It has to be there. So, more or less, these were the kind of learnings. So, with Benelli, when we started off and we started discussions also with them, that it was very clear what we wanted to do. The pricing is key, so the pricing has to be aggressive. The models are key. We don't want models which might not be successful, so we want to choose the models, what we want to do, and of course the network, so certain identities and the network. I would say with Yosan, these were the three major points, where we struggled for almost 2.5 years in making sure we got the right thing. And now we have it. So now, like for example, with Yosan, we've got 41 outlets. When I took over from Garwari Motors, I was left with only 10 outlets. So that is, in those 2.5 years, I managed to, revamp it completely, bring them into a new setup. And that's been a great learning for me.
And it's also been a risk putting the DSK name ahead of that, right? Because people sometimes associate the foreign brand because they've heard of it. Has that paid off for you?
Well, so far, yes. I mean, in some cases, even people believe that, I sort of have taken over Yosan completely. So,
which is not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing to, for a perception, but it's worked. It's worked in a way. In fact, in India, it's worked very well because people knew us with our association with Toyota, with what the DSK group stands for. We stand for the commitment towards customer service. So that sort of has played well, especially in Maharashtra, because, we are established in the state very strongly, certain parts of the south of India as well. So that has worked very well, and even with Benelli now coming in, the same kind of momentum is going to continue. So I'm quite confident that we will be able to deliver what we are promising.
So given that kind of a share that you hope to attract, let's talk about the pricing strategy as we wrap this up. How crucial was it to get the prices right? Run us through the kind of range that you're going to be operating with.
So to begin with, the ranges, of course, we've got 5 models. So the TNT 300, the TNT 600i, TNT 600 GT, the TNT 899 and the TNT R, which is the 1130cc. Price range, if I say, it would be upwards of starting with about 300,000 at showroom till about 1.2.
There's a massive span.
That is, I mean, in terms of 5 bikes, but they are distinct. I mean, once you look at the
what I mean is it gives you a great spread.
It is, yes. So it's going to be quite important for us, to place them, even for the dealers. Like for example, there was a situation where because we opened bookings on the 10th of March, and I was personally sitting in the showroom and observing as to how customers are reacting to it once they see the products. So one of them came, saw the 300, super happy. Then he saw the 600, he got more excited, and he switched. But the other one came in with a specific saying that this is 600 that I want to buy. He saw it and he fell in love with the 300 instead. So they're complementing each other. It's interesting. So he said, well, I can afford it, but I like this one better. So I think this is my cup of tea. He sort of got scared with the entire 600 inline 4 and the sound of the bike and everything. So we sort of moved to 300. So yeah. So for some people, they come with okay, I want to own this, but then they realize, okay, this is not today. Maybe I am not prepared for it. So that's the way it's working. So that's the way basically we are introducing the brand Benelli to India, and now we have to see how we go ahead. And yes, as to answer your question, yes, the price was extremely important. I have fought with George on everyday level for the pricing, and we have managed to successfully get it right. I'm sure you'll be surprised too. You'll accept it very well the way we are pricing the
It'll be interesting to see the reaction. There's no doubt. I'm sure people will be waiting to know about that. So that wouldn't have been an easy decision. George, the bikes have been talked about in India for some time now. We've also been sort of exposed to them, through media, etc. Of course, the real fun is when you start seeing them on the road. What is it that you would like from the brand in terms of awareness or in terms of acceptance over the next 12 months? Because today is really the big day, isn't it?
Yeah, actually it's very exciting for me also, because even for Benelli, maybe it's the first time to enter India market. So in the next several months, Mr. Shirish have very aggressive plan to do this business. Also, we will give him the biggest support, try to reach our target.
And similar sort of expectation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that it will be successful. I'm sure the acceptance would be there. It's just that we need to see where exactly, we sort of, our strong points. So we're confident about all the products. But of course, it's going to take its own time to develop, sort of bloom into the market. But yeah, very confident. I'm sure it's going to be accepted extremely well.
Here's a new kind of buyer today in India as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
We wish both of you all the very best with that. Congratulations as well. And like I said, I have to get my hands on a few of those as well. So we'll talk about that.
Would be happy.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.